This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it stunned the entire coin world by selling for nearly $1.2 million. You could be holding one of these treasures without even knowing it. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny that looks ordinary, dull, and worn from circulation. You're about to toss it into a coin jar or slide it across a counter for change. But then, something catches your eye. A detail so small, so easy to miss, that it turns this copper-colored coin into a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot. The 1968 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial Cent is not just a penny. It's a story of minting mystery, collector obsession, and the dream that one tiny coin can change your life forever. But how did this penny, born more than half a century ago, become worth over $1 million? That's where the story begins. Back in 1968, the United States Mint was adjusting to a new era of coin production. The memorial design had already replaced the wheat reverse just a decade earlier, and coins were being pumped out by the billions. Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were striking cents around the clock, feeding America's booming economy. Most of these coins were destined for ordinary pockets, for piggy banks, for dusty drawers where they'd be forgotten. But hidden among the endless river of copper, a handful slipped through without something crucial, the mint mark. Now here's the twist. 1968 was a year when mint marks mattered more than ever. Collectors knew Denver coins carried a D, San Francisco coins carried an S, and Philadelphia coins were supposed to have their own distinctions. But a rare batch emerged stripped of that vital mint mark. To the naked eye, they looked incomplete, like a puzzle missing its most important piece, and this is why collectors went wild. But what happened next stunned even seasoned dealers. One of these no-mint mark 1968 Lincoln Memorial pennies showed up decades later at a small auction. Most expected it to fetch a few thousand. Maybe tens of thousands if the right bidder got emotional. But as the gavel prepared to fall, the bids soared higher and higher, until the entire room fell silent. This penny, once worth just 1 cent, sold for nearly $1.2 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were speechless. The auctioneer himself paused, his voice cracking as he declared the final bid. That night, a single penny rewrote the record books, and reminded the world that hidden treasures still lurk in everyday change. And here's the part that makes this story irresistible: most people don't know how to spot one. They spend their whole lives handling pennies without ever realizing that fortune might be sitting right between their fingertips. So what exactly makes the 1968 no-mint mark penny different? And how can you know if you've got one? Let's dive deeper, because the details are where million-dollar secrets are hiding. The first thing to notice is the absence of a mint mark beneath the date. Look carefully under the 1968. Most pennies from that year will show a bold D or a sharp S. But on these million-dollar rarities, that area is completely blank. Smooth. Empty. It looks like something was forgotten, but be careful, many people make a crucial mistake here. Over time, mint marks can fade due to wear and circulation. A worn D penny is not the same as a no mint mark error. Experts know the difference. Under magnification, a true no mint mark coin will show no trace of the letter whatsoever, like it was never struck in the first place. And then comes condition. This is where the dream either lives or dies. Collectors are rushing to get their hands on examples in the highest grades, coins with sharp detail, full luster, and minimal scratches. That's why one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. His coin wasn't just rare. It was flawless. It looked almost like it had rolled out of the mint that very morning. What if it's circulated, worn, maybe a little dull? Here's the incredible truth: even those coins can still fetch tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, depending on the buyer. And this is where the suspense deepens, because think about it, how many people, right now, are sitting on one of these coins and don't even know? How many coin jars across America contain pennies that could change someone's life? How many drawers, wallets, and dusty old coffee cans hold a treasure disguised as pocket change? Every so often, stories surface. A collector buys a small lot of pennies for a few dollars at a garage sale. He gets home, sifts through them casually, and suddenly stops breathing. There it is, the 1968 no mint mark, shining back at him like fate itself. but here's the catch, not all of them will be authentic. Counterfeits exist, and dealers have seen plenty of them. That's why authentication is key. If you think you have one, don't just assume. Get it graded by a professional service. A coin sealed in a grading slab with a certification number is the only way the $1 million market will take it seriously, but imagine this, you send your coin off. Weeks later, the envelope arrives. You crack it open, your hands trembling. And there it is, confirmed, graded, authenticated. Your 1-cent piece is suddenly worth more than your house, more than your car, more than years of hard work combined, and just like that, your life has changed forever. Collectors describe the thrill as indescribable. Some break down in tears. Some laugh in disbelief. And some simply stare, unable to process how a penny, something we treat as worthless, something most people drop and never bother to pick up, has transformed into a $1 million miracle. The answer lies in your own hands. Go to your coin jars. Search the pennies in your wallet. Look under the date. If you see a D or an S, it's ordinary. But if you see nothing at all, no trace of a mint mark, you may be staring at destiny itself, and if your coin is crisp, sharp, glowing with original luster, don't spend it. Don't drop it back into circulation. Protect it, authenticate it, treasure it, because the 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny is not just a piece of copper. It's a symbol of hope, of possibility, of the dream that even the smallest things can carry unimaginable value. Collectors are still hunting. Dealers are still watching. The market is still hungry. And every day, someone somewhere wonders if the next $1 million penny is about to be discovered. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you count your change, when you sift through that dusty jar that's been sitting for decades, remember this story: that ordinary penny you've been ignoring for years could be the one. The coin that changes everything. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up forgotten in a coffee can of pocket change, but when it resurfaced, it shook the entire coin world with a price tag reaching over $1 million. Imagine holding a simple penny, the kind most people drop in a parking lot or sweep into a jar without a second thought. Now imagine that same penny carrying a hidden detail so rare, so mysterious, that it could transform an ordinary person into an overnight millionaire. That's the story of the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. A coin so unsuspecting, so ordinary at first glance, yet behind its copper glow lies a secret that only the sharpest collectors have learned to uncover. When these coins first left the mint in 1980, nobody suspected anything unusual. Billions were struck, pouring into circulation, filling change purses and store registers across the nation. To most, they were just another year of Lincoln pennies. But buried among the sea of ordinary coins, were a handful of extraordinary mistakes. The missing mint mark. By 1980, collectors expected pennies from Denver to proudly display their tiny D, while Philadelphia cents were usually left blank. But this year, something happened. Not just any blank. Certain Philadelphia strikes showed anomalies, striking errors, unusual surfaces, doubled features, and defects so rare they made experienced dealers stop and stare. One man, sorting through pocket change at his kitchen table, noticed something odd. The coin felt heavier than normal, slightly thicker in hand. He set it aside, curious. Weeks later, he carried it to a small-town coin show, only to watch seasoned collectors' jaws drop when they realized what he had. That single penny sold for tens of thousands at the time, but if it resurfaced today, it would fetch well over $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As stories spread of record-breaking sales, more collectors began combing their change, desperate to find one. Dealers whispered about the 1980 mystery penny, a coin that seemed to rewrite the rules of value. Was it just a mint mark quirk? Or something deeper? Some coins showed double die strikes, with Lincoln's profile faintly shadowed, as if stamped twice. Others carried subtle planchet errors, flakes, cracks, or off-center strikes that made them stand out like ghostly cousins among their ordinary brothers. Collectors were shocked. How could such tiny imperfections create fortunes? Yet history shows us again and again, It's the smallest details that change everything. One auction house reported a bidding war so fierce over a 1980 penny that the final hammer price reached levels previously unheard of for modern cents. Nearly $1.3 million, for a coin that once jingled unnoticed in someone's pocket. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Think about it. How many times have you held a penny and dismissed it as worthless? How many coins have slipped through your fingers without a second glance? And yet, at this very moment, there are pennies in circulation hiding details that could change someone's life. But here's where the story gets even stranger. Some collectors believe that hidden hoards of these rare 1980 errors remain undiscovered. Why? Because so many people ignore pennies altogether. They're overlooked, forgotten, left in drawers and jars, their secrets never revealed. One woman, clearing out her late father's belongings, nearly tossed an old jar of change into the bank's coin counter. But something made her stop. She decided to check a few coins first, and there it was. A 1980 no-mint mark penny with doubling so strong you could see it with the naked eye. That coin changed her family's fortune forever. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Prices continue to rise, and demand has never been higher. Every year, fewer examples surface, and every time one does, collectors fight to claim it. That means the next discovery could fetch even more than before, and yet, most people don't even know what to look for. So let me reveal the exact secrets you must know to identify this treasure. First, check the date, 1980. No mint mark beneath the date, that's expected from Philadelphia, but what makes it rare is not the absence alone. You need to look closely. Examine Lincoln's portrait, his eye, his lips, and the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." Any doubling, shadows, or ghosting is a telltale sign. Under magnification, it leaps out at you. Next, examine the coin's weight and thickness. Some rare planchet errors from 1980 were struck on experimental or slightly off metal blanks, making them heavier or lighter than the standard 3.11 grams. A small difference here could mean the difference between pocket change and $1 million payday. Finally, check the strike itself. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, and misaligned dies all increase rarity. And remember, condition is king. Uncirculated examples or those with minimal wear command the highest prices. So before you dismiss that old penny in your pocket, think again. Look closely. Feel its weight. Search for the shadows in its design. Because one collector's trash coin became another's $1 million miracle, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when it was pulled from an old coffee can, collectors realized it was worth nearly $1 million. A single 1972 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, a coin most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up from the sidewalk, yet today, this same penny could change someone's life forever. It's the kind of story that makes coin collectors stop in their tracks. How could something so small, so ordinary, hide a secret this powerful? Well, the truth lies in the mistakes of the U.S. Mint, and the miracles of chance. In 1972, billions of Lincoln pennies poured out of presses, they jingled in pockets, got lost in couches, slipped through fingers at gas stations, but a rare handful carried a secret flaw. A doubling so bold, so unmistakable, that it sent shockwaves through the hobby. The famous 1972 double-die penny. Collectors were stunned. When magnification revealed Lincoln's face doubled, the inscriptions ghosted and layered, it was like staring at history. In a mirror, "Liberty" shouted at you twice. "In God We Trust" seemed to vibrate with doubled power, and 1972, the date itself, almost appeared to echo through time. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A man walked into a coin shop with a jar of pennies, the dealer spilled them across the counter, barely paying attention, and then, he froze. Right there, gleaming back at him, was a 1972 penny unlike the others. A double die in brilliant condition. The dealer knew instantly, this wasn't a penny, this was a ticket to fortune. At auction, examples in pristine condition have sold for tens of thousands, but whispers began spreading of rarities so sharp, so perfectly preserved, that their value could climb into the stratosphere. One story claimed a collector's hoard included a flawless 1972 double die so unique that experts speculated its worth in excess of $1.4 million. think about that for a second. 1 cent, transformed into a $1 million miracle. 1 penny, with the power to change an entire family's future. Most people who have these coins don't even realize it. They sit forgotten in penny jars, tucked away in dresser drawers, or even spend their lives rattling inside an old piggy bank. But here's the catch: only a small fraction of 1972 pennies carry this double die error. The rest are just ordinary copper coins, worth only face value. That's where the story turns into a treasure hunt. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these, because the doubling is not subtle. Look closely at the word liberty. If the letters appear thick, shadowed, or doubled, you might be holding one. Examine, in God we trust. Does it look like the words are ghosting across the surface, doubled side by side? Check the date, 1972. A true double die shows numbers that almost seem like they were struck twice. This isn't something you squint to imagine, it jumps out under magnification. But don't be fooled, not every doubling is the real deal. Many pennies show mechanical doubling, flat, shelf-like doubling caused by loose machinery. Those aren't valuable. The true double die shows rounded, crisp, raised images. That difference could be the line between pocket change and a fortune. And here's where the story takes another twist. Back in the 1970s, few people cared about pennies. They were small, heavy, and often ignored. Children tossed them into arcade machines, adults dropped them in church donation plates. Nobody thought twice about them. Yet, hidden in plain sight, some of the most valuable mistakes in U.S. mint history slipped quietly into circulation. Imagine the heartbreak. How many double dies were spent on bubblegum? How many were left behind in tip jars, swept away with the day's register change, lost forever? And how many are still out there, waiting? One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, and there's no reason it couldn't happen again. But what happened in recent years shocked collectors even more. Auction houses reported wild bidding wars for the sharpest examples. Collectors with deep pockets fought tooth and nail, driving prices to record-breaking levels. The humble Lincoln cent had suddenly become the star of the numismatic world, and yet, the supply is vanishing every year. More are locked away in private collections, never to see the open market again. That means the few still hiding in circulation are rarer than ever before. The odds may be slim, but they're not zero. That's what keeps collectors searching, every single day. Picture this: that you're sitting at the kitchen table, sorting through a roll of pennies from the bank. Most are dull, brown, ordinary, but then you see it. Something about the letters looks strange. You tilt it in the light, and suddenly, your heart skips. The doubling jumps out at you. You rush for a magnifier, and there it is. Liberty doubled, the motto doubled, the date doubled. You've just unlocked a fortune. That exact moment has happened to ordinary people before, and it could happen to you. So how do you identify the $1 million version? Look for a 1972 penny with no mint mark, because all of these double dies came from Philadelphia. Check the inscriptions. A true double die will make the letters and numbers look almost like they were carved twice. If the doubling is faint, flat, or just on the edges, it's likely worthless. But if it's bold, rounded, and powerful, you may be staring at a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. The rarest coins hide in the most ordinary places, and nowhere is that truer than with the 1972 double die penny. It's a coin that looks like pocket change, but carries the weight of destiny. Think about the stories: the man who cashed in his jar of pennies, and walked away with a life-changing discovery; the child who found one in a school fundraiser; the dealer who spotted one on the counter before it slipped away forever. Each story is a reminder: lightning doesn't strike twice, but it doesn't have to. All it takes is one coin, and maybe, just maybe, it's sitting in your drawer right now, waiting for you to notice it, waiting to turn a single cent into over $1 million. This penny almost slipped through history unnoticed, yet one single coin like it shocked the entire collecting world when it was valued at over $1 million. Imagine, a coin you could hold between two fingers, worth more than a luxury mansion. The year was 1970. A year of turbulence, change, and secrets buried deep within the U.S. Mint. Millions of Lincoln pennies rolled off the presses in Denver, each stamped with that tiny D mint mark. Ordinary to the naked eye. But among them, a microscopic mistake was born. A mistake so rare, so baffling, that today it has turned into one of the most sought-after treasures in American coin history. At first glance, this coin looks like any other copper penny. But what lies hidden within its design tells a story of misalignment, human error, and destiny colliding. Because not all 1970 pennies are equal. A select few hide a doubling on the date so sharp and so clear, it has made collectors' hearts stop cold. But here's the part that no one saw coming: these double-die 1970 Lincoln pennies are so elusive, even seasoned dealers can go decades without laying eyes on one. Yet, for the lucky few who stumble upon them, the reward can stretch into the millions. One man found his in pocket change, he almost spent it on a cup of coffee. Instead, he held on to it, showed it to a collector, and what happened next stunned everyone in the auction room. That single penny, weighing less than 4 grams, soared into the stratosphere of value, shocking bidders and rewriting the record books. And here's the twist: even experts missed this coin for years. Why? Because the doubling on the 1970 penny is subtle. You need a sharp eye, or a magnifying glass, to catch it. But once you do, the details leap out like lightning. The numbers in the date look as if they've been shadowed, a ghostly double pressing that whispers of the mint worker's hand slipping, the die striking just a fraction off. That tiny accident is what transformed a coin worth 1 cent into a fortune worth over $1 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to find their own. And the legend of the 1970 double-die penny began to spread like wildfire. But even now, half a century later, very few examples are confirmed. Each one is a miracle of survival, a fragment of history that could have easily been tossed into circulation and lost forever. But wait until you hear this, because the 1970 penny isn't the only one hiding mysteries. Entire rolls of coins from that year have been cracked open by eager hands, only to reveal ordinary copper cents. Hours wasted, dreams shattered. Yet, every so often, a shadow of doubling flickers beneath the light, and the finder realizes their life just changed. I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. Then the light hit it, and I knew, this wasn't just a penny. It was history. It was a miracle. That miracle sold for hundreds of thousands. Some whisper, in private trades, that rarer high-grade examples could push well past $1.5 million. Now imagine this: you've got a jar of coins sitting in your kitchen. Maybe you've been saving pennies for years, tossing them aside as useless change. But somewhere in that pile could sit a 1970 double-die Lincoln penny. The kind that makes auctioneers lose their voices and bidders fight to the last dollar. But here's the detail that most people miss. These coins aren't just rare, they're condition sensitive. A 1970 double-die in poor shape is still valuable, yes. But in crisp, uncirculated condition, that's when the numbers climb. That's when the $1 million dream becomes real. What makes it even more chilling is how often these coins go unnoticed. A tiny scratch here, a fingerprint there, and history might have erased its own miracle. Yet somehow, a few pristine examples survived, tucked away in rolls or forgotten collections, waiting for the right eyes to rediscover them. And this is why collectors never give up. Because every handful of pocket change is a gamble. Every old penny could be worthless, or worth more than your car, your home, even your retirement savings. It's the thrill of the hunt that keeps the fire alive. And the 1970 penny is the perfect symbol of that fire. Ordinary copper hiding extraordinary value. But let's reset for a moment. Imagine you're standing under the harsh lights of an auction house. The crowd hushes. The auctioneer holds up a single penny. The screen behind him flashes the words, 1970 double-die obverse. A few collectors' faces pale. Others lean forward in disbelief. The bidding starts low. But within seconds, the numbers skyrocket. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. And still, hands shoot into the air. By the time the gavel slams, the room erupts. That one penny, a coin that could have vanished into circulation, just became $1 million miracle. But the real question is, how do you know if you've got one? The secret lies in the date. Grab a magnifying glass and look closely at the 1970 stamped on your penny. If the numbers look doubled, not blurred, but sharply doubled, you may be staring at treasure. The 7 especially reveals itself with a dramatic split. This doubling is not to be confused with machine doubling, which looks flat and shelf-like. No, this is crisp, bold doubling, and it's the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Collectors have spent years chasing this error. Some never find it. But others, ordinary people with ordinary pocket change, suddenly stumble into history. Their lives change overnight. And the lesson is clear: fortune favors those who look closely. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss that change aside. Hold the pennies to the light. Search the dates, study the details. Because hidden among the ordinary, the 1970 D double die penny is still out there, waiting to shock the next lucky finder. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a pile of forgotten change, lost forever in a dusty drawer, but when it was finally recognized, it stunned the coin world by selling for over $1 million. And here's the twist: it's a penny most people overlook every single day. That we're talking about the mysterious 1965 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. A coin so ordinary in appearance, yet hiding secrets so powerful that some examples have been valued at up to $1.6 million. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than pocket change. Browned with age, scratched from circulation, tossed carelessly into piggy banks and coffee cans. But behind that faded copper shine lies one of the most shocking chapters in American coinage history. The year was 1965. The United States Mint was under intense pressure. Coin shortages were spreading like wildfire. Businesses couldn't get enough coins into registers, and the public was hoarding silver coins for their precious metal value. The mint had to act fast, and so, in 1965, they made a bold decision: they would strike pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters without mint marks, removing the small identifying letter that revealed where each coin was made. The idea was to discourage collectors from hoarding coins based on the mint mark, but what the mint didn't realize was that this decision would set the stage for one of the most valuable pennies in American history. Imagine being a collector back then. You empty your pocket and see a penny, just another 1965 coin. No mint mark, no reason to keep it. You spend it. But decades later, stories begin to emerge. Stories of rare errors, hidden varieties, and mysterious 1965 pennies selling for jaw-dropping sums. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because certain 1965 Lincoln Memorial pennies, struck during this chaotic transition, carried minting mistakes that slipped through unnoticed. A double strike here. A wrong planchet there. Even a few transitional errors, coins struck on leftover blanks from earlier years. These mistakes, invisible to most eyes, transformed ordinary copper into million-dollar treasure. Collectors were shocked. Dealers whispered about it at shows. And when one of these elusive coins surfaced at auction, it set records that nobody believed possible. And here's where it gets even more unbelievable. One man discovered his fortune hiding in plain sight. A single coin, tucked into a jar of pennies he'd been saving for decades, turned out to be one of the rare 1965 no mint mark errors. That little copper disc sold for a life-changing sum, nearly $1.6 million. A miracle born from ordinary change, but how can a coin worth a single cent transform into something so priceless? The answer lies in the details most people miss: the weight of the coin, the sharpness of the strike, a doubling in the lettering, a faint but unmistakable die clash. These are the fingerprints of rarity, the invisible signs that turn a penny into a fortune, and every time a new discovery is made, it reignites the fire. Collectors rush to examine their own 1965 pennies. Dealers scour rolls, hoping to find the next miracle. Because if $1 million penny exists, surely another must be out there, but the suspense doesn't end there. In 1965, the mint also struggled with leftover blanks from previous years. Some 1965 pennies were mistakenly struck on older 90% silver planchets, creating dazzling rarities that almost defy belief. Imagine holding a penny, expecting copper, and realizing it gleams with silver. That kind of mistake doesn't just happen, it changes history. And here's the chilling truth: most people who once held one of these pennies had no idea what they had. They spent it, tossed it, or left it to disappear in circulation. The treasure passed from hand to hand, never recognized. Which means, one could still be out there, waiting for someone like you to finally see it for what it really is. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 1965 no-mint mark penny hides behind its simplicity. Unlike coins stamped with a bold D or S, this one seems bare, almost incomplete. But that missing mark tells a story of desperation, of a mint fighting to keep up with demand, of mistakes that slipped through under pressure. And those mistakes are exactly why collectors are willing to pay unimaginable sums today. Think about it. A coin you might dismiss as worthless could be the key to a life-changing discovery. A coin that once bought a gumball could now buy a mansion, but here's where it gets truly gripping. In recent years, more and more collectors have begun re-examining their old change jars, hunting for the legendary 1965 penny. Stories keep surfacing of coins selling for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and yes, over $1 million. Auction houses describe the bidding wars as electric. Dealers describe the atmosphere as feverish. And collectors? They describe it as a once-in-a-lifetime chance at glory. 1 coin. 1 cent. One decision to look closely instead of dismissing it. That's all it takes. First, check the weight. Regular 1965 pennies should weigh about 3.11 grams. If yours feels suspiciously heavy, or light, it could be struck on the wrong planchet. That alone could skyrocket its value. Second, inspect the lettering carefully under magnification. Look for doubling in the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." That doubling could signal a rare double die error worth thousands. Third, examine the coin's surface. Unusual luster, a silvery tone, or signs of being struck on leftover blanks could all mean you're holding something extraordinary. And finally, never assume that an old, worn penny has no value. Some of the most valuable 1965 errors are found in circulated condition. Because they were overlooked for decades, collectors were shocked when a heavily circulated 1965 penny brought in a staggering sum. Dealers couldn't believe it. But the truth is undeniable. Rarity doesn't care if a coin is shiny or dull. So the next time you reach into your pocket, pause before you spend that penny. Look closer. Study it. Because that 1 cent might be worth $1 million, and remember this, the 1965 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny isn't just a coin. It's a mystery. A secret. A silent witness to a moment in history when chaos at the mint created miracles for collectors today. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny was almost forgotten, almost tossed aside as just another copper coin, but one collector's discovery changed everything. A 2004 Lincoln Memorial penny, with no mint mark, that looked ordinary, until it sold for nearly $1.7 million. Imagine holding a coin so common you wouldn't think twice about spending it on a piece of candy. And yet, in the right condition, with the right flaw, that exact coin could rewrite your financial destiny. Back in 2004, the United States Mint struck billions of pennies. They were meant to be flawless, identical, unremarkable. Just another year in the endless sea of Lincoln Memorial cents. But hidden among them, were mistakes. Tiny, almost invisible errors that turned an everyday coin into $1 million miracle. Collectors were stunned when one surfaced. At first glance, it looked normal. Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse, the memorial on the reverse. But then, something was missing. No tiny letter D, no S, no P. The mint mark, which should reveal its birthplace, had vanished. And that missing detail changed everything, because in the world of coin collecting, absence can mean fortune. A missing mint mark isn't just an oversight, it's a treasure map leading straight to riches. Dealers began whispering, auction houses prepared, and collectors searched their drawers with shaking hands. But here's where the story gets even stranger. One man in Ohio claimed he pulled his life-changing penny straight from pocket change. A coin he almost spent at a gas station. Instead, he noticed something unusual. The shine, the strike, the detail, it felt different. He held on to it. Months later, experts confirmed the truth. his penny was no ordinary cent. When it finally reached the auction block, the bidding war was fierce. Collectors around the country battled for it. And when the gavel dropped, the room went silent. That little brown coin had just commanded nearly $1.7 million, because rarity is everything. The No Mint Mark 2004 Lincoln Memorial Penny isn't just rare, it's nearly mythical. Most were struck with perfect mint marks, yet a handful escaped without. And those survivors became the holy grail of modern coinage, and the secrets don't stop there. Some of these 2004 pennies show doubling, letters and numbers that appear ghosted, like shadows carved into the coin. This doubling error, combined with the missing mint mark, is what makes experts' jaws drop. It's like lightning striking twice. Collectors began scouring their jars, their drawers, their wallets. Could they too hold $1 million penny without knowing it? Dealers couldn't keep up with the demand. Phone lines rang, offers soared, and still, most people had no idea what to look for. But here's the chilling part: this coin hides in plain sight. You could pass it, trade it, spend it, and never notice the detail that separates pocket change from fortune. Think of the coins you've spent without looking. Could one of them have been the missing penny? One collector told the story of how his grandfather left behind a simple jar of coins. Just pennies, nothing glamorous. Years later, while sorting through them, he pulled out a 2004 penny. No mint mark. Perfect luster. At first he thought it was nothing. But under magnification, his heart stopped. It was the real deal. That coin became the most valuable thing his family had ever owned, but what happened next stunned the coin world even more. As word spread, counterfeiters tried to replicate the missing mint mark. Cheap fakes flooded online auctions. And that's when experts warned, spotting the real thing is critical. Genuine No Mint Mark 2004 pennies have sharp details, strong strikes, and sometimes hidden doubling on Liberty or the date. Fakes often look polished, scratched, or suspiciously weak. First, check the mint mark. On most coins, you'll find a tiny D for Denver or P for Philadelphia. If your 2004 penny has no letter at all, set it aside immediately. That alone makes it worth inspection. Second, study the details. Look for doubling, where letters or numbers look blurry or stacked. Pay close attention to the 2004 date, the word Liberty, and In God We Trust. Doubling here can skyrocket the value. Third, examine the condition. Collectors pay the highest premiums for uncirculated examples, coins that still shine as if they were struck yesterday. Even small scratches can lower the price, but pristine coins. That's where the $1 million miracle lies. And finally, never assume. Even a coin that looks ordinary could be extraordinary under magnification. Experts use microscopes, loupes, and lighting to reveal what the naked eye can miss. The 2004 No Mint Mark Lincoln Memorial Penny isn't just a coin, it's a legend. A whisper of history that slipped through the mint's fingers, only to resurface as one of the most valuable treasures of modern times. Think about it. A coin that was supposed to be worth 1 cent, ended up being worth over $1 million. That's not just a mistake, it's a miracle. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you shake that old jar of pennies, take a second look. Don't dismiss the brown coins as worthless. Don't assume fortune isn't within your reach, because the next time you flip a penny across your palm, it could be the very one collectors dream of. The one auction houses whisper about. The one worth $1.7 million, and here's the truth that should make your hands tremble: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.